I died on my wedding day, choking on the shards of my own shattered dreams as my fiancé's hands, those same hands that had vowed to hold me forever, tightened around my throat in the vestry shadows. The last thing I saw was my mother's face, twisted not in horror, but in cold approval, her lips curling into the smile she'd worn when she handed him the knife that started it all. But death isn't the end. It's just the universe's cruelest reset button, and when I gasped back to life 3 years earlier, staring at my reflection in the mirror of that godforsaken bridal suite, I knew this time the blood would be theirs. My name is Lillian Harper, and the first time around, I was the perfect American dream. 32, Lieutenant Commander in the U.S. Navy, fresh off a deployment in the Persian Gulf where I'd earned my first star for pulling my SEAL team out of a sandstorm ambush that should have left us all as buzzard food. Back home in San Diego, the sun-kissed beaches and palm-lined drives felt like a reward, a chance to trade sea salt for wedding rice. I met Ethan Caldwell at an officer's mixer in Coronado, his Ivy League charm and Wall Street swagger cutting through the khaki crowd like a shark through minnows. He was everything my blue-collar folks back in Ohio had whispered about in their late-night calls: stable, ambitious, the kind of man who could elevate a girl like me. Mom and Dad, Eleanor and Harlan Harper, had clawed their way from trailer park poverty to a split-level ranch in the suburbs, Dad slinging burgers at a diner until he clawed his way into real estate, Mom baking pies for PDA fundraisers while secretly nursing a flask of gin. They adored Ethan from the jump. He's got that old money vibe, Mom cooed over FaceTime, her eyes gleaming like she'd hit the lottery. Finally, someone who won't drag you back to the salt mines of the service. They didn't get it. The Navy wasn't a mine to me. It was freedom, the roar of jet engines over the waves, the weight of command that made me feel unbreakable. But cracks showed early, if I'd bothered to look. Ethan's business trips to DC stretched longer each time, and he'd come back with that distracted glaze, scrolling his phone like it held state secrets. Mom started calling more, her voice syrupy with questions about our timeline. Kids need a father who's home for dinner, Lil. Not chasing ghosts in some desert. I laughed it off. Navy brats like me grew up on MREs and goodbyes. What I didn't laugh off was the letter that arrived 6 months before the wedding, slipped under my apartment door like contraband. A pink envelope from a fertility clinic in Bethesda, addressed to Ethan and some woman named Victoria Langford. I burned it without opening it fully, chalking it up to a mix-up. Love makes idiots of us all, right? But that night, as Ethan slept beside me, his arms slung possessively over my waist, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, the Pacific breeze whispering doubts through the cracked window. Victoria, who the hell was she? A ghost from his Yale days? I could have confronted him, run the plates on that shiny BMW he leased, but I didn't. I was too busy pinning up seating charts and taste-testing crab cakes for the reception at the Del Coronado Hotel. The wedding day dawned like a postcard, azure sky over La Jolla Cliffs, gulls wheeling like tiny dive bombers. I stood in the bridal suite of the hotel, a converted officer's quarters with vaulted ceilings and ocean views that should have felt like destiny. My gown hung on the antique armoire, ivory silk cascading like a waterfall, hand-beaded by a seamstress in Manila who'd shipped it special for the occasion. Mom and Dad had flown in the night before, Dad grumbling about the waste of taxpayer dollars on my leave, Mom fussing over every curl in my updo. That's when it happened, the first betrayal, the one that should have been the warning shot. I stepped out for a breath of air, nerves jangling like loose rigging, and left them alone with my dress. 20 minutes later, I returned to find Mom holding a pair of shears, the gown sliced clean down the middle like a gutted fish. Fabric pooled on the Persian rug in 2 limp halves, beads scattering like spent casings. What the actual fuck? The words exploded out of me, raw and unfiltered, the kind of Navy deck swab profanity I'd scrubbed from my civilian tongue. Mom didn't flinch. She straightened, her Chanel suit impeccable, and fixed me with that missionary stare she'd perfected at church bake sales. It's for your own good, Lillian Grace. That dress? It's a lie. You're no blushing bride. You're a soldier playing house. And Ethan? He deserves better than a woman who'll ship out tomorrow, leaving him to raise your mistakes alone. Dad nodded from the corner, his face a mask of regret that didn't reach his eyes, clutching a tumbler of bourbon like a shield. We talked it over with him, kiddo. He's got options. Real ones. Options. The word hung there, acrid as gunpowder. Ethan had known, my fiancé, the man who'd proposed on bended knee at sunset on Coronado Beach, ring glinting like a compass star. He'd stood by while they destroyed the symbol of our future, too spineless to stop it. I lunged for the shears, but Mom stepped back, calm as a diplomat. Think about it, Lil. The Navy's chewed you up enough. Come home. Let us fix this mess you call a life. I didn't think. I grabbed the ruined halves, stormed out in my slip and robe, the hotel corridors blurring as I burst into the ceremony space. 300 guests, fellow officers in dress blues, Ethan's banker cronies in tuxes, my ragtag family from Ohio, turned like a firing squad. Ethan stood at the altar, pale as surf foam, Victoria Langford on his arm in a backup gown that suddenly made sense. She was everything I wasn't. Petite, porcelain-skinned, with a trust fund that bought her a seat at the grown-ups table. The clinic letter hadn't been a mix-up, it was their blueprint. Chaos erupted. Chairs scraped, whispers swelled to a roar. I hurled the dress halves at Ethan's feet, silk whispering accusations. You cut me open, Ethan. All of you did. Mom's voice sliced through from the back. She's hysterical. Someone get the chaplain. But I wasn't hysterical. I was awake. For the first time, I saw the web they'd spun, Mom's anonymous tips to Ethan's firm about my instability, Dad's backroom deals to leverage my security clearance for his shady developments near the base. They'd sold me out for a shot at the elite life they'd always craved. I walked out. Not ran, walked, head high, robe flapping like a cape. The cliffs called, the oceans crash a siren song. That night, under a moon like a cold steel helm, I drove to the edge of Black's Beach, the same spot where Ethan and I had made love once, sand grinding into our skin like truth we ignored. He found me there, Victoria's perfume still clinging to his collar. Lil, please. It was a mistake. They pushed me. Lies, all of it. His hands closed around my neck as I laughed at the irony of a man who couldn't lead a conga line trying to end me. The world faded to black, the waves my eulogy. But black isn't forever. When light cracked through again, it was fluorescent harsh, the mirror in that bridal suite reflecting a face 3 years younger, unscarred by grief. My hands, calloused from rifle grips, trembled as I touched the glass. The date on my phone, June 15th, 2022. Wedding day minus 1098. I'd been given a do-over, a loaded chamber in the revenge revolver. I didn't cry. I planned. First call, my CO, Captain Reyes, voice like gravel over the line. Harper? Thought you were on leave. Change of plans, sir. Requesting immediate redeployment. And put me in for the War College, full throttle. He chuckled, but I heard the respect. Next, I hacked Ethan's email, child's play with the crypto skills I'd picked up in cyber ops. There it was, the thread with my parents dated months back. She's loyal to a fault, but we can break her. Victoria's father has pull at the Pentagon, pull that could bury her career if she doesn't step aside. Bury me? I'd bury them first. I booked a red-eye to D.C., the hum of the sea, 17 transport lulling me into strategy. By dawn, I was in Arlington, uniform starched, stars polished. Wait, no stars yet. That came later. But the fire? It burned eternal now. San Diego faded in the rearview as I drove south on I-5. The sprawl of strip malls and taco stands a blur of second chances. My apartment was the same. Spartan, walls lined with commendations, and a single photo of me and my team hoisting a captured flag in the dunes. I packed light. 1 duffel, my service pistol, and a burner phone loaded with dirt. Ethan's secrets weren't just Victoria. They were embezzlement from his hedge fund, funneled through Dad's shell companies for coastal developments that were really money laundering fronts for cartels sniffing at the border. I started small. A whisper to the SEC hotline, anonymous, with timestamps and account numbers pulled from his cloud. Careless bastard used the same password for everything. Lilithan forever. By week 2, his trades were under audit, his swagger cracking like cheap drywall. Mom called, voice all honey and hurt. Lil? Where are you? We miss you. I let silence stretch, then. Tell Dad his permits just got revoked. EPA's got questions about those eco-friendly condos leaching into the aquifer. Click. Ethan showed up at my door 3 weeks in, rain-slicked and desperate, Victoria's ring box burning a hole in his pocket, or so he thought. Baby, come back. It was a family thing. Your folks. They just want what's best. I opened the door wide, gestured him in, poured him a Scotch neat, the kind he liked, peaty and expensive. Sit, I said, voice even as a horizon line. He did, babbling apologies, hands gesturing like he was pitching stocks. I waited until he hit the rim of the glass, then slid a folder across the coffee table, printouts, wire transfers, emails with my parents CC'd. His face drained. This is blackmail. No, Ethan. This is justice. You cut my dress. I cut your future. He lunged, but I was faster, Navy training kicks in like muscle memory. A knee to the gut, elbow to the temple, and he was down, wheezing. Leave, Victoria. Resign from the fund. And tell my parents the wedding's off. Permanently. He nodded, tears mixing with snot, the golden boy reduced to gutter trash. But that was just the appetizer. The real feast was the gala. Navy ball, black tie under chandeliers at the Marriott Marquis in D.C., where brass rubbed elbows with politicians and Victoria's daddy, Senator Langford, held court like a kingpin. I'd fast-tracked my way there. Commendation bumped me to full commander, 1 star gleaming on my epaulets. The uniform fit like armor, the white of my dress jacket stark against the sea of metals. I spotted them across the room. Ethan, tux rumpled, nursing a drink, Mom and Dad, schmoozing with the senator, their Ohio twang polished to a D.C. sheen. Victoria clung to Ethan's arm, oblivious. I approached slow, glass of champagne in hand, the clink of heels on marble like countdown ticks. Lillian, Mom trilled, air-kissing my cheeks. You look military. Dad chuckled, but his eyes darted. Gilt's a tell. Commander Harper, the senator boomed, pumping my hand. Heard you're the rising star. My girls told me all about you. All about me? I smiled, sharp as a bayonet. Funny, Senator. I could say the same. About your investments in those San Diego parcels. His jowl twitched. Ethan paled. Victoria blinked, confused. The band struck up, anchors away, and I pulled Ethan onto the floor, waltzing him into the spotlight. Feel that? I murmured, breath hot on his ear. That's the rhythm of your empire crumbling. SEC's got your ass, Dad's facing RICO charges, and Mom? Her little gin habit's about to go public. DUI from last month's fundraiser, courtesy of a dashcam I pulled. He stumbled, sweat beading. Please, Lil. We can fix this. No fixes, Ethan. Just fallout. I spun him out, left him reeling as I cut to the senator. Care to dance, sir? Or should I tell the room how your charity PAC funnels bribes to defense contractors? The music swelled, guests circling like sharks scenting blood. Mom's face cracked, powder caking the fissures. This isn't you, Lillian. You're destroying us. Us? There was never an us. I raised my voice, just enough for the cluster of admirals nearby. Ask them about the wedding. How they sliced my gown and handed my fiancé to their better match. How they tried to bury my career for a taste of power. Whispers rippled, phones emerged, DC thrived on scandal fodder. The senator blustered, Dad spluttered, but I was done dancing. I saluted sharp, turned on my heel, the door a promise of open sea. Behind me, the gala fractured, accusations flying, alliances shattering like fine crystal. My phone buzzed. Reyes. Harper, you're in. OCS instructor. 2 stars pending. And kid, whatever you did back there, don't stop. I didn't. But as the cab sped toward Andrews, fog rolling off the Potomac like smoke from a fresh kill. I felt the twist, the one that made revenge taste like ash. In the folder I'd left with Ethan, not just evidence. A pregnancy test, positive, dated 2 weeks before the wedding that never was. Victoria's, slipped in by Mom as the final nail. I'd carried his child unknowingly, lost it in the struggle on those cliffs. The universe's reset hadn't given me back what was gone. Dawn broke over the Chesapeake as my flight touched down in Norfolk, the world's largest naval base sprawling like a steel leviathan under Virginia's humid haze. I checked into BOQ, Bachelor Officers' Quarters, a sterile box with a view of carriers moored like sleeping giants, their decks alive with the ant scramble of crew. My new gig, training midshipmen at the Naval Academy Annex, molding raw plebes into leaders who wouldn't fold under fire. Reyes had pulled strings. 2 stars were a whisper away if I played it straight. But straight was for suckers. This time, I'd carve my path crooked, laced with thorns for those who'd pricked me. First order, compartmentalize. The ghost of that lost child, locked in a watertight bulkhead, not to be breached. Focus on the board. Ethan's SEC probe was heating up, leaks hitting the journal like depth charges. Dad's developments? Frozen by federal injunction, his flip phone calls to fixers bouncing off stone walls. Mom? She'd checked into a wellness retreat in Sedona, but I knew better. Detox for the sheiks, alibis for the feds circling her charity frauds. I hit the ground running. Mornings, PT on the grinder, 5-mile runs through bricked paths lined with cannon replicas, my breath sinking to cadences I'd scream later. Double time. You call that hustle? My grandma could outpace you on gin. The plebes, kids fresh from high school heartland, eyes wide as bayonets, ate it up, their laughter gritty with sweat. Afternoons, classroom war games, dissecting Gettysburg and Fallujah, teaching them that battles aren't won on maps but in the marrow, where betrayal festers. Ethan tried contact once, a late-night text from a block number. Lil, I'm sorry. Let me explain. I screenshotted, forwarded to his parole officer. Yeah, I tipped IC about Victoria's study abroad, visa being a sham for her daddy's lobbying gigs. She was deported by week's end, Senator Langford's empire wobbling as ethics committees sniffed. He called then, voice quaking over the secure line. Commander Harper? This is Senator Langford. We need to talk. Talk's cheap, sir. Actions? Those cost. I leaned back in my office chair, the Annapolis skyline framed by my window, dome gleaming like a challenge. Your pack's under DOJ review. Funny how national security donations trace back to Ethan's slush fund. Silence thick as fog. What do you want? Greed's the great equalizer. Even senators bargain. Endorsement for my promotion. And a quiet resignation from the Armed Services Committee. He balked, but the hook was set. By month's end, my name buzzed in promotion lists, whispers of Harper's the Fixer rippling through the earring. Home fires flickered too. A care package from Ohio. Mom's lemon bars, brittle as her composure. Note tucked inside. We're family, Lil. Blood's thicker. I crumbled them over the bay. Watched crumbs dissolve like lies. Dad's next, a collect call from county lockup, voice gravelly from cheap smokes. Lil, honey. Mistrial on the wire fraud. Need bail. Laughter bubbled up, sharp as shrapnel. Bail? From the daughter you auction off. Dream on. But I wired it, $5,000. Just enough to keep him stewing. Mercy?
No.
Leverage.
Every debt a chain.
The tension coiled tighter at the commandant's reception, a fall formal in the Academy's historic hall, chandeliers dripping light over tuxes and gowns like stars on dress blues. I'd invited no one, but they came anyway. Ethan, gaunt in a rented suit, tailing a +1 who eyed the exits. Mom and Dad, paroled on technicals, her in a sheath dress that hung loose, him tugging at a clip-on tie. They cornered me by the punch bowl, the string quartet sawing, America the Beautiful like a dirge. Lil. Mom hissed, grip iron on my arm. This vendetta, it's killing us. Your father's heart. Dad nodded, eyes watery.
We did it for you, kid.
To save you from that life.
Save me? From command?
From purpose? Rage simmered, but I kept it iced. Save me? You pimped me out for condos and connections. Ethan's kid, our kid, was collateral in your power play. Mom's face crumpled. Genuine this time? We didn't know. Eleanor thought. Victoria was safer.
Safer.
The word ignited. I pulled free, voice low thunder. Safer for your social climb. But here's the twist, folks. I know about the life insurance policy. The one you upped on me 6 months pre-wedding, beneficiary switched to family trust. Dad blanched. Mom's hand flew to her throat. How? Navy intel, Mom. We see everything. Ethan's approach cut the air, desperate, reeking of cologne and collapse. Lil, stop. I love you. Always did.
Love.
The dirtiest four-letter in the fleet. I turned, crowd parting like Red Sea blues. Love, you choked it out of me on those cliffs. Gasps rippled. A Commodore paused mid-sip. Ethan's eyes bulged. Cliffs? What are you? The do-over you don't remember. But I do. Every bruise. The quartet faltered. Security edged closer. Mom wailed, theatrical. She's unhinged. The stress. Unhinged. I laughed, pulling my phone, hitting play on a recording. Ethan's voice, slurred from that vestry scotch. She'll never suspect. Just like we planned. The hall froze, then erupted. Murmurs to outrage. Phones capturing the carnage. The commandant, silver-haired sentinel, clapped my shoulder. Harper. My office.
Now.
Not reprimand, validation. By morning, Ethan was in cuffs, accessory to attempted fraud. Parents remanded for conspiracy. But Victory's a sly fox. That night, alone in my quarters, the bay's lap a lullaby, I traced the scar on my palm, from a shrapnel nick in the Gulf, or so I thought. No, from clutching those dress halves, glass from a shattered vase cutting deep. The reset hadn't erased the pain, it amplified it. And in the quiet, doubt crept. Was revenge rebuilding me, or just another uniform to wear until it choked? Reyes called at 0600, voice crisp. Stars are yours, Commander. And a posting, JAG liaison, DC desk. Clean the house from inside. I saluted the mirror, 2 silver eagles now pinning my future. But as I boarded the shuttle to Penn Station, the harbor shrinking, I felt the pull. Ohio's flatlands calling like unfinished business. The Harpers weren't done bleeding. DC hit like a monsoon, horns blaring on the beltway, monuments looming like judgmental sentinels under slate skies. My new digs, a one-bed in Georgetown, brick row house squeezed between embassies, the Potomac's muddy churn visible from my fire escape. JAG office in the Hoover Building Annex, a warren of cubicles humming with case files and coffee burn. I was the Navy's scalpel now, slicing through corruption from the inside, tips funneled anonymously, audits triggered with a nod. 2 stars meant doors opened, grudges meant I kicked them down. Ethan's trial was the opener. Federal court in Alexandria, wood panel drama where prosecutors paraded wire fraud like battle banners. I testified remote, uniform crisp on the screen, voice steady as a periscope. Commander Harper, did the defendant ever discuss falsifying documents? The ADA, a shark in pearls, leaned in.
Explicitly, Mom.
He bragged about Harper Holdings, shell for laundering via my father's projects. Ethan, shackled at the defense table, met my gaze, pleading, then venomous. The jury didn't buy his duress spin. Guilty on all counts, 24 months at Allenwood, white-collar purgatory. Mom and Dad's turn came swifter, joint arraignment in Cleveland, heartland justice in a courthouse smelling of varnish and vengeance. I flew commercial, economy tight as a torpedo tube, landed to find reporters swarming the steps like gulls on chum. Commander, is it true your testimony sinks your own family? Microphones jabbed. I shouldered through, no comment but a glare that could have stripped paint. Inside, the gallery packed. Ohio busybodies, church ladies with fans fluttering judgment. They stood unbowed, Mom in a wool skirt suit, Dad's BOLO tie a nod to cowboy roots. Plea, not guilty, fingers crossed for sympathy. But I was the hammer. On the stand, under fluorescent glare, I laid it bare. They didn't just betray me, Your Honor. They weaponized my service, leaking classified cords from my deployments to Ethan's investors, trading national security for kickbacks. Gasps echoed. The judge, a grizzled vet with a purple heart, banged gavel like thunder. Objection overruled. Proceed. Dad cracked first, blubbering about providing for his girl. Mom? Steel till the end, hissing across the bar. You owe us, Lillian. We raised you. Raised me?
On resentment and rye.
The verdict dropped like an anchor, 10 years each, concurrent, white-collar wing at Carswell for her, Terre Haute for him. As marshals cuffed them, Mom's eyes locked mine, hate pure as moonshine. Monster, she mouthed. I smiled small. Family tradition. Back in D.C., the high faded fast. Nights blurred into stakeouts, not fieldwork, but digital, tracing cartel ties from Dad's ledgers to Beltway fixers. My team, a ragtag of analysts and ex-grunts, dubbed me Ghost, slipping through cracks, leaving trails of indictments. Reyes promoted me informal. Harper, you're a force. But watch the burn. Burn? I was Inferno. The controversy brewed at the Capitol Hill Mixer, a bipartisan bash in the Rayburn House office building, crystal clinking amid marble busts of forgotten framers. I was there for networking, or so the invite said, in mess dress, stars winking under chandeliers. Senator Langford sidled up, scotch in fist, apology scripted. Commander, water under the bridge. Victoria's back, studying law at GW. No hard feelings. His daughter, across the room, shot daggers, petite fury in pearls. Feelings? Senator, those are for civilians. I clinked glasses, then dropped the bomb. Like the feelings of the widows from that botched arms deal your pack greased? Leaks from my intel say Russian back channels, not just sloppy accounting. His face mottled. Whispers spread like oil slicks. A congresswoman, blue state firebrand, pulled me aside. Harper, that's dynamite. You got proof. Proof? Volumes, encrypted on my secure drive. The fallout was fireworks. Headlines screaming, Navy Star torpedoes Senator's legacy. Ethics probes launching like missiles. Langford resigned in disgrace. Victoria scattering to Europe on Daddy's dime.
But the twist?
My CO called, tone clipped. Harper, brass wants a word. Your zeal, it's painting targets on all of us. Targets. The word chilled. In the earring, loyalty's a tightrope. I danced too wild. Ohio pulled next, a summons from Aunt Clara, Mom's sister, the black sheep who'd bolted for Callie's son and stayed silent through the storm. Her letter. Handwritten, lavender-scented. Lil, come home. There's more to the Harper rot than you know. Home? The ranch house, now foreclosed husk on the edge of Youngstown, rust-belt relic with sagging porch and secrets buried in the crawl space. I drove, rental Impala eating miles under harvest moon, cornfields whispering ghosts. Clara met me at the door, wiry in flannel, eyes like Mom's but kind. Coffee? Or bourbon? Bourbon won. Over chipped mugs at the Formica table she spilled. Your folks. They didn't start with Ethan. It was me, back in '95. Dad, your grandpa, caught wind of Harlan's side hustle, skimming union dues at the mill. Beat him senseless. Harlan swore revenge. Waited 20 years. Poisoned the well slow. Poison. The metaphor landed heavy. And Mom. Clara sighed, lighting a merit. She chose him over blood. Pushed you toward better, to atone for their sins. That insurance policy? Not just greed. Insurance against you digging too deep.
Deep.
Like the box she slid across. Yellowed envelopes. Grandpa's scrawled accusations. Photos of bruises on a younger Harlan. I burned them in the backyard fire pit, flames licking like vindication. But Clara's hand on my shoulder. Revenge eats the avenger, Lil. Look at you. Stars on your sleeve, hollow in your eyes.
Hollow.
The word echoed as I drove east, beltway lights blurring tears I hadn't shed since the cliffs. Back at JAG, the board convened, admirals in starched whites, faces carved from Mount Rushmore stone. Commander Harper, the CNO intoned, "Your results are exemplary. But methods. Controversial. Leaks to media? Unsanctioned probes." I stood ramrod. "Sir, corruption doesn't clock out. Neither do I." Murmurs, a nod. Reprimand on record. But promotion holds. Rear Admiral, lower half. Use it wisely. Wisely. As I pinned the second star, silver eagle's talons out, I felt the weight, not glory but gravity. Ethan's appeal denied, parents' sentences upheld. Yet sleep evaded, dreams replaying the chokehold, the lost heartbeat. Was this justice, or just my own noose tightening? Rear Admiral Lillian Harper. That title rolled off tongues like a challenge, 2 stars a beacon in the Pentagon's fluorescent labyrinth. My office, corner suite overlooking the Lincoln Memorial, eagle banners flanking a desk piled with red-roped briefs. Agenda? Purge the rod, cartel tendrils in procurement, lobbyist bribes greasing admiralty promotions. My team swelled. Cyber whizzes from Fort Meade, field agents with scars from Mosul. We moved like shadows, indictments dropping quarterly like monsoon rains. Ethan wrote from Allenwood, letters forwarded unopened till one slipped through. "Lil, I'm broken. Therapy says I was the monster, but you made me. Forgive. Forgive?" I forwarded to his PO, contraband psych eval, hinting manipulation. He lost good time, privileges stripped. Mom's missives were pleas. "Pray for us, daughter. God's mercy." I donated her letters to a prison lit program, fuel for inmates' fires, not mine. "Dad?" Silence, broken once by a smuggled note. "Proud of you, kid. Even now."
Proud.
The lie that birthed the beast. Controversy crested at the Aspen Security Forum, Colorado pines framing a stage of suits and stars under canvas tents. I keynote. Loyalties fracture lines, a scalpel to systemic betrayal, veiled swipes at family firms bleeding the budget. Audience. Think tank wonks, congressional aides, a smattering of brass. Q&A turned ambush, a Fox News plant, mic hot. "Admiral Harper, your personal crusades, are they vendetta or valor? Sources say you tanked your own kin for headlines." The tent hushed, cameras zoomed. I leaned into the podium, stars catching light like warning flares. "Valor, Mr. Reporter, is calling out kin when they sell the flag for 30 pieces. My family? They auction my oaths for offshore accounts. Headlines? Collateral. Justice?
Non negotiable.
Applause cracked, polarized, half thunder, half crickets. Backstage, a general cornered me. "Bold, Harper. Stupid but bold. Hill's gunning for your scalp." Gunning. The threats started subtle, anonymous emails, "Back off, or your ghosts surface." Ghosts, the cliffs, the child. I traced IPs to a DC cutout, Langford's old firm. Then overt, slashed tires on my Acura. Traitor keyed in the paint. JAG up security, escort to briefings, encrypted comms. But the real gut punch landed at Arlington. All Souls Day reflang, fog thick as regret. Clara flew in, uninvited, her presence a balm and burr. We stood at Grandpa's stone, frost-rimed grass crunching under boots. He'd hate this, Lil. The admiral in you, fierce, but frayed.
Frayed.
She handed a locket, Moms, from their girlhood, engraved Sisters Forever. Inside, faded photo, us 3 Harpers at the county fair, cotton candy grins. She loved you. Twisted, but true.
Love.
The word weaponized again. That night, over ribs at a foggy bottom dive, Clara probed. "What's the endgame? Them rotting, you rising. Does it fill the hole?"
Hole.
The lost life, the what-ifs. Maybe not fill. Just sell. She nodded, wise as waves. But dawn brought breach. A leaked memo, my name on a disloyal elements watch list, courtesy of a vengeful undersecretary with Langford ties. The hearing convened swift, Senate Armed Services, wood-paneled inquisition under C-SPAN glare. Chairman, a hawk from Texas. Admiral Harper, allegations of overreach. Your probes, they tread ethics' edge. I faced the gallery. Empty seats for allies, packed for foes. Testimony flowed. My wins, billions saved from fraud, cartels crippled. Then the blade. Personal bias? Your family's convictions taint objectivity. Bias. I rose. Voice carrier deck loud. Bias, Senator? Try betrayal. They didn't just wrong me, they compromised assets, endangered sailors. My objectivity? Forged in that fire. A senator snorted. Langford's proxy. Or revenge porn for a jilted bride? The room inhaled, I countered. Jilted? I was ambushed. And if exposing that saves one life, call it porn. I'll wear the scarlet A. The gavel fell. Recess called. Whispers swirled. Pundits dubbing me the vengeful eagle. Support flooded. Op-eds from vets. Viral threads on exhaling. Harper's reckoning. But isolation bit. Reyes retired, citing politics. Team eyed me wary. Loyalties ledger balanced. Clara stayed, crashing my couch, brewing chicory strong as truth. Pivot, Lil. Revenge is a riptide. Pulls you under.
Pivot. To what?
Then the call. Anonymous tip line. Voice distorted. Harper. Your parents, there's a play. Warden's dirty. Early release for testimony against you. Against me. The web tightened. Spiders and stripes. I flew west commercial again. Coach humility grounding the admiral. Ohio pen. Gray fortress under November drizzle. Interview room. Plexiglass divide. Mom pale and orange. Dad absent. Solitary for infractions. Lil. She breathed. Palm to glass. Help us. Help. I slid papers through the slot. Immunity deal. Her signature the key. Testify. The warden, the bribes, spill. Her eyes narrowed. For what? Your pity?
No.
For absolution. She signed, trembling, names, dates, drops in the prison yard. By dawn, feds swarmed, warden cuffed mid-coffee. Mom's face as they led her back. Not gratitude, but ghosts exorcised. I see him in you, Lil. Harlan's fire. Fire. The blaze I'd inherited. Turned inward. Back east, the hearing reconvened. My testimony. The bribe plot. Mom's flip confirming. Chairman's brow arched. Dismissed. With commendation. Stars intact, but scarred. Clara hugged goodbye at Dulles. Heal now, Admiral. The war's won. Won? The scoreboard said yes. Ethan paroled early, broken, vanishing to Montana anonymity. Parents' sentences commuted for cooperation, relocated under witness protection to some Midwest nowhere. Yet, victory soured. In my office, staring at Lincoln's distant gaze, I unpacked the locket. Sisters. The hole gaped, child-shaped. Revenge had plugged leaks, but sprung new ones, trust eroded, connections cauterized. Was this the American dream? Peaks conquered, alone atop the slag? Winter clamped D.C. in iron, snow dusting the tidal basin like ash from spent flares, cherry trees, skeletal sentries. Rear Admiral Harper, two-star sentinel, but the title chafed like ill-fit blues. Probes wrapped. Cartels indicted in Tijuana sweeps, my intel the spark. Medals piled. Navy Cross 4, exemplary valor in administrative combat, brass joked. But valor's veneer cracked nights, when the Potomac's murmur mocked my solitude. Clara's words echoed. Heal. I tried. Therapy in a nondescript office near DuPont Circle, shrink with a beard like Audie's and eyes that saw bulkheads. Revenge, Admiral. It's grief's bastard child.
Grief.
For the wedding that wasn't. The life snuffed on cliffs. For parents who'd birthed me in bitterness, twisted love to chains. Sessions peeled layers. The girl who'd enlisted to escape Ohio's chokehold found wings in whites.
You didn't lose them, Lil.
You outgrew. Outgrew. The word freed. I reached out, tentative, To Ethan, a certified letter. No forgiveness. But closure. Move on. No reply, but his socials went dark, ghosting complete. To Mom and Dad, via handlers. Books, neutral, Sun Tzu, Hemingway. War's end, the note read. So, do these. Mom wrote back, postmark Nebraska Plains. We were cowards. You, warrior. Sorry doesn't fix, but it start.
Start.
Spring thawed them all. Tourists flocking like migrations. My posting shifted, special projects, advising on ethics reform, lecturing at Annapolis. Plebes now called me Ma'am Eagle. Awe in their salutes. 1. A whip-smart ensign from Cleveland, Rust Belt kin, cornered me post-drill. Heard your story, ma'am. Family betrayal? Mine too. How'd you?
How?
I clapped her shoulder. One hatch at a time. And never alone. Never alone crystallized at the Naval Academy commencement, Severn River sparkling under June sun. I gave the address. Unscripted, hard on sleeve. Midshipman, betrayal's the fog of war. It binds.
But you?
You'll navigate by stars, yours, not borrowed. Offstage, Clara beamed, her Cali tan a contrast to my whites. Post-ceremony, she pulled me to the yard's edge, gulls crying overhead. Proud, sis in spirit. The twist landed soft, not shank, a package unmarked, at my Georgetown door. Inside, the locket, repaired, chain restrung, photo restored. Note in Mom's script, kept it safe. For the granddaughter we never met. Love, finally. Granddaughter. The word pierced but not bled. I clasped it, silver warm as absolution. Ethan's surface last, not vengeful, but vessel. A coffee in Arlington, neutral ground by the wall, black granite etching names like regrets. He looked weathered, Montana wind in his lines. Therapy, Lil. Real work. I was poison. Your folks poured it, but I drank deep. No please, just truth. The kid. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It landed, not bomb but bridge. Me too, I said. For hating the mirror you held. We parted civil, no sparks, just embers banked. Langford? Disbarred, writing memoirs in obscurity. My parents? Released early, vanishing to witness farms in witness protection's web, letters sporadic, thawing slow. Gardens growing, Dad scrawled once. Tomatoes like your grandpa's.
Growth.
The cycle bent, not broken. By fall, I stood on Coronado Beach, waves gnashing like old foes, sunset bleeding gold. Uniforms swapped for civvies, jeans, tea faded from Gulf salt. A team barbecue crackled nearby, laughter carrying on breeze. Reyes, retired but ruddy, clapped my back. Admiral's done good. What's next?
Next?
I gazed horizon. Endless blue. Sail. Real kind, no desk. The reset's gift wasn't erasure, but edit. Pages torn, rewritten raw. Betrayal's scar faded to silver, 2 stars internalized. Not rank, but resolve. I walked the tide line. Shells crunching underfoot, the dresses ghost long buried. America's promise? Not perfection, but persistence, storm-tossed, star-guided. And in the foam's whisper, a heartbeat echoed, not lost, but lingering. A future, mine to claim.